Merci. On va entendre une autre intervention, et là, sur la gestion du territoire en Grèce et le cadastre, bien sûr. Et ce sera le fait de Mme ChryssyPotsiou, qui est présidente désignée de la Fédération internationale des géomètres, qui est professeure à l'Université d'Athènes. Mme Potsiou possède 30 ans d'expérience dans l'enseignement, la formation et le renforcement des capacités au niveau international. Depuis 1982, elle est active au sein de la FIG, en particulier dans les travaux de la Commission 7 et de la Commission 3, dont elle a été présidente de 2006 à 2010. Elle a entre autres présidé le groupe de travail sur la propriété et le logement. Alors, qu'en est-il du cadastre et de la gestion du territoire en Grèce, Mme Potsiou?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Let me introduce myself also. I'm ChryssyPotsiou. I work at the National Technical University of Athens, teaching cadastre and land management. And before I start, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the organizers and Daniel and the University of Laval and the speakers. It's a great contribution to the Surveying Society, this conference. Thank you very much. So I was asked by Daniel to present a little bit about the Greek cadastre, and I will try now to give you a brief review of the progress, and I will be objective as always. So in Greece, there was, since the establishment of the new Hellenic state, it was the system for the transfers and mortgages established in order to support the market. So this system consisted of about 398 land registries. Some of them worked as public offices, some other as certified private offices. In the mid-90s, the government decided to go for a new Hellenic cadastre project. And the total estimated cost was about 550 million euros. Everybody had a great vision. Everybody had a great feeling that there is a big need for cadastre in this country. However, the vision was not very, very concrete. And very early, it was pointed out by Professor Peter Dale that the major weaknesses of the project was that the purpose was a bit unclear. And it was a pity that Greece started such a big project without doing the necessary parallel legal reforms. However, the country was not ready that time for legal reforms, and Hernando de Soto published later, unfortunately. So where are we at the moment? The vision is more clarified. Well, there's still a little bit of confusion among some politicians, but the good thing is that the legal reform has started, and the best thing is that there is political will. So I will give you some statistics for those that you are not very close to this region. Greece has an area of 132,000 square kilometers and a population about 11 million people. There are about 4 million buildings and 5.5 million residences, because there are condominiums also. About 15 to 18 million land parcels, and about 38 million property rights. The Bank of Greece has estimated the total value of private land to be 750 billion, but that estimate the valuation was done before the crisis. I will give you some information about the phases of the cadastral project. It was the first and second pilot project and the first main program that covered an area of 6.5%, and the property rights, 17% of the property rights. You can see the distribution of the property rights per square kilometer. Most property rights are within the urban areas. This phase is completed. The second phase of the cadastral surveys included urban and suburban areas in the greater Athens and Thessaloniki region, and some capital cities. It includes another 60% of the area of the country and another 18% of the property rights. And it is expected to be finished within this period until 2019. I also include information about the costs because everybody, for any project, is interested to hear how much does it cost. Buildings are not recorded in the cadastral maps. Then the next phase is the remaining parts that all of that has to be finished by 2020. And it includes the remaining settlements, the remaining land. These are the biggest projects. And the area where there has been land distribution and land consolidation projects in the past. And also includes Parnitha Mountain. It's the mountain close to Athens because there was a big fire, and for environmental purposes, this has to be done, and also some other specific areas that they had cadastered in the past. The major improvement that has been achieved in the recent years is that the tender procedure has been radically changed. It has been simplified and shortened. It is based on the qualifying documents of the tender participants and the criterion of best price. And this is expected to speed up the project a lot. So this is a very, very good step forward. In parallel, the responsible agency has developed a very, very efficient and modern IT center and web applications. Has established the network of HEPOS permanent GPS stations. You can see here the mainland and some of the islands and the independent islands, stations on the eastern Aegean islands and Crete. There was another project for scanning and digitization of the old maps for land distribution and land consolidation that these projects have been done by the Ministry of Agriculture in the past. And they have created original titles, so it had to be done, this project also. Another very important project, parallel project that has been achieved is the compilation of very large-scale colored orthophoto maps in 2009. And this was for the urban areas with the pixel size 20 centimeters, and for the rural areas with a pixel size of 50 centimeters. And everybody can use that, and it's of great value for the surveyors and for the society. And now the new project is going on to cover the whole country with a pixel size of 25 centimeters, pixel size. Another project, parallel project, was the compilation of forest maps. There is an issue in Greece because the use of the specific land use type, the areas that are characterized as forests, are considered to be state-owned land. And the state land has not been well protected and managed in the past due to lack of infrastructure, lack of spatial data infrastructure. So it was very important to identify what is forest, and then through that to see what is state land. And in order to see what is the privately owned land and what is the state land. However, there is a very big interest, ecological interest, and the definition of the forest is changing frequently. And the minimum polygon that can be characterized as forest can be even less than 0.3 hectares with a canopy density of 15%. And this does not only include trees, as you are accustomed here in Canada, but also little bushes and any kind of wild vegetation. And as you can understand, this project all of a sudden created problems to already existing private activity in the areas. And there are also private property rights registered in the land registry. but now these areas are maybe included in the forest polygons, so there is an issue that requires political will to be solved and to recognize the existing private rights in these areas. The number of buildings and settlements in these polygons is still unknown, but the first pilot project was evaluated by the Technical Chamber, and it was given a number of 48% of the registered private rights in the areas outside the city plans have been claimed by the state due to that. Another parallel project was the definition of the shoreline and the coastal line, because the coastal zone is again state and public land, and there was a need to close the private parcels, polygons that are close to the sea. And this line may vary, as you see here, because of its definition. The width of this zone varies. The preliminary definition is finished, and the new law now requires the finalization of the form of the official shoreline. Another issue that has appeared, well, it was existing, of course, but it created problems in the property market and in the cadastral project, was the existence of informal development. And the lack of spatial infrastructure and the inflexible and centrally driven expensive zoning and planning system and permitting regulations have led to informal development. Actually, it is estimated to be 1 million constructions without any building permit, and another 1.5 million constructions with small informalities. And as I said, also there is an unknown number within the protected lands. There is a political will for legalization. It started in 2009. Several legislation has been developed since then, but unfortunately, there is a need to raise awareness about the necessity to legalize informal development for the society, for the economy, and for the environment, and to improve these buildings. Because the Council of the State in 2013 judged that the legalization law was unconstitutional. And because of also high penalties, the project has some weaknesses. It is insecure. People are not very willing to go and register because they are afraid that even the new law is going to be judged unconstitutional. It is temporary. We're not talking about legalization in Greece, but about formalization for 30 years only. And it is not inclusive because all the protected, the informal development in the protected lands is not included in the project. However, this results into a 3 billion euros annual GDP loss without including the loss of the revenue of not registering and paying the penalties. So we are now at the moment to try to persuade the Council of the State that especially for the environment, it is not good to demolish all these settlements, but it is good to formalize and do energy efficiency projects in these buildings. Another issue, as you all know, is that Greece is a historic country, and the ancient Greeks have been there first. And they stay there forever, and this is good, of course, and always we can find new archaeological findings of great interest, as you may have already heard this summer. But this has a big impact on the investment. And I give you just an example because the regulations about the protection of archaeological sites are also not shown on maps. And it is difficult for an investor to find out. This is a case that you may see here. An investor bought a piece of land on an island to make some little settlement there. And this, you can see it is shown in blue, the settlement. On the next bay, it was known that it is an archaeological site, of course. This is protected, but the investor knew that in the bay that he bought, it was nothing. But still, he couldn't get, and he still cannot get his permit to go on, because the Archaeological Society claims that maybe we can find more in the area. And the regulation is that the tourists are not supposed to see any other new development once they are in the archaeological site. So the investor had to do all kinds of 3D representation of the whole area there to persuade that there is no direct contact, eye contact with the settlement, but still he cannot get a permit. So these are indeed some challenges. Another challenge now is the property taxation that affects the property market. And maybe it is the most important issue now that maybe create a little bit of public, reluctance to the reforms, because I'm not going to tell you all the details, but I'm going to tell you that the taxation system is changed every year, and it is very, very unstable. Also, the property taxes are calculated by a progressive system based on the total amount of the properties of the owner, which is unfair because it is as if you penalize somebody who does some saving and wants to invest in property market. It is crazy. It is as if you consider that every Greek wants not to declare his revenue, but there are also honest people in Greece, as there are in every other country, So also the taxes are based on the zone tax value without taking any consideration of the age of the construction. And this means that the old constructions are taxed more. Also, the zone tax values have not been adjusted for several years, and especially during the crisis. So this is also an issue because in some places the market value may be 1/3 of the tax value at the moment. So there is a general feeling that the property annual tax for the possession of the property is unfair and does not affect equally all real estate. And it is very, very important when we really want to do the reform successfully to have the public acceptance. Another big improvement, however, was in the transfer tax, property tax, which was quite high, and since this summer it became very low. So this is a real progress. Here are some remarks about the property market in Greece from the Bank of Greece. So it says that the drop in prices is accelerating, the rent prices also decline, there is a weak market activity. Actually, it is called the buyer's market because the buyers, according to their affordability, they define the prices. The construction costs remain high, despite the fact that the labor costs have been decreased because the price of gasoline has increased. Also, the credit expansion remains negative, and the non-performing loans are about 30% at the moment. So the government is working on that. Really, the property market is not in a good state at the moment, and as it was said the other day, if somebody is affected from that, then somebody speaks loudly or somebody cares. So I think that in the future, this should be within the concerns of the cadastre. So what are the recommendations and the challenge for the future? We have to finish by 2020. And I see that this can be possible to be done because there is a strong political will, as I said. The responsible agency has excellent experience, excellent personnel, and the Greek surveyors are high qualified. However, there are some remaining obstacles. Especially for the cadastre, the key registers have to be established, the cadastral offices have to be well equipped, there have to be good linkages with the involved professionals. And the question about the open cadastre is still pending, to provide information to the users easily, to have stability within the agency, to have less political influence. And in general, about the legal reform, this is the most important, I think. There is a lot to be done, remaining work. All the forest maps have to finish, to be ratified, the coastal zone, the informal development, legalization, property valuation and property taxation, and the simplification of planning and construction permitting reform. So what I have to say is that external technical assistance should be continued. It is very important. The government needs support, and there is a need to raise awareness in general about new policies and the global trends in property market and the economy. So thank you for your attendance, and I will give you a little flavor of Greece. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.